Okay, so I want to talk about this particular conversation. Um, this particular book actually verifies the lies that have been told, and it is almost been used as a script to try to discredit the advocate that I am. And this particular book actually is a book on basically how to protect yourself from a person with borderline personality disorder, and that is a disorder that is occurred from sexual abuse and trauma and things of that nature. And this particular book is I would say they've used it as an instructional way of discrediting people who are making claims of abuse. And this book was actually written in 1998, the same year that my story was first published in the first media stories that were available online. And this is where they were talking about gay adoption versus Christian adoptions. And this book was actually written in 1998. And as you could see, the authors who wrote the book are here. And they got, so I'm not going to read this book. However, I am going to show you examples of how they've used books such as these as instructional type of scripts that they're using to discredit claims of victims, advocates, and people that they are trying to silence. This is not the only book that they've used, obviously, but this is one of the main books that they have used. And in this particular book, the names that they've used in this book are the same names of the people who live in the boarding houses that I lived in. I don't know if you guys watched that video about the neighbor, but there's, as you could see, John is one of the names that are mentioned in this book. Larry is one of the names that are mentioned in this book. Okay. Let's see. Lynn is one of the names that are mentioned in this book. Lynn is actually a woman that worked at Arby's on Franklin Road. She was the assistant manager there at that Arby's that I worked at. I was actually hired. I was hired by a woman named Heather and a woman named Tammy. And I've already showed you the information pertaining to that prostitution case that they were unable to charge me with, and the lawyers and things that were actually involved in that case. And Tammy is actually one of the people that were involved in that particular case. You can also see the name Cynthia in this book. Cynthia was one of the judges that were, when I was in Atlanta, Georgia, she was one of the judges who was actually on the driving on suspension case. And we're going to talk more about Heather as I get into these police reports and things about that. But this particular video is really just about this Stop Walking on Eggshells book. Basically, this book is not a book on how to work with people with borderline personality disorder. This book is a book that was written to, I would say, further traumatize people with borderline personality disorder, how to use the disability against the person that has borderline personality disorder. And that is the reason why they call these houses boarding houses. As you can see, borderline personality disorder and the boarding houses that they actually used and the characters that they used in the boarding houses. You know, it's not rocket science. It's not rocket science. It's not rocket science. It's really, really not. And in this particular chapter, they talk about safety plans. And we're going to actually talk more about that. But we're going to talk more about that later on in the video. We're going to talk more about safety plan versus treatment plan. And the reason why we're going to talk about safety plan versus treatment plan is because people with borderline personality disorder suffer at different levels. Everybody who has a borderline personality disorder doesn't have extreme behaviors. Okay, everybody who suffers from borderline personality disorder doesn't cut on themselves, is not suicidal, is not, they don't lie, they don't make up stories just for attention. There's different levels of borderline personality disorder. The things that I suffered from as a part to my trauma and the disability of borderline personality disorder was sexual promiscuity with older men. I never cut on myself. I was never suicidal. I was never self-harming in that way. But being promiscuous, especially at an early age, is considered harmful. It's considered risky. And that is one of the effects that I had from my borderline personality disorder. But borderline personality disorder is different with everybody. Everybody's effects of the disorder are not going to be the same, and they're not going to be as extreme as other people. Now, another names that are mentioned in here is Karen, and you know that earlier, a few years ago, as a matter of fact, about a year and a half ago, they were online doing the Karen videos. And I had actually commented on some of the Karen videos because at that time they were calling Karen a white woman, basically a white woman that is in black people business and acting crazy in places of businesses and stuff like that. And they were calling these white women Karens. And the reason why I got in the comment thread is because I am an activist for people with disabilities, human rights, and I didn't like the fact that it seemed as though they were exploiting and making fun of women who were having emotional episodes or experiencing trauma in public. And as you can see in this particular book, Karen's name is mentioned in this book. There's Chris's name is mentioned in this book. Corey's name is mentioned in this book. Jean's name is mentioned in this book. Annie's name is mentioned in this book. Mike's name is mentioned in this book. And like I said, this is all about develop a safety plan. And like I said, we're going to talk later on in this video about the difference between creating a safety plan for people with borderline personality disorder, people who have already been traumatized, and creating treatment plans for people that have borderline personality disorder. Penny's name is mentioned in this book. Again, another Karen is mentioned in this book. Sharon specifically is mentioned in this book, and the name Sharon is extremely relevant because when I was living at the boarding house on 34th and Capitol, one of the ladies who helped me with the room there, her name was Sharon. Her name was Sharon. That was her name. And I didn't even connect the dots to when I was working at Popeyes on 16th Street. So not the first time that I was working at Popeyes, but the second time that I went to work at Popeyes, I went to go work on 16th Street in Sharon. And that is out west. There's a Popeyes that's located on the west in Indianapolis, Indiana. And the street that the Popeyes that I worked at was on was 16th Street in Sharon. And that's actually one of the first jobs that I obtained when I came back from Georgia the third time. And as you could see, Christine's name is mentioned in this book. We're going to talk more about the Sharon name here in a few. Kirk's name is mentioned in this book. Linda from the Bellflower Clinic. And I'm going to share, I'm not going to talk about the actual health conversation in this particular video. This video is about mental health and the police documents and reports and connecting the dots to the boarding houses, the mental health safety plan versus treatment plan. And that's going to be the conversation in this particular video. Sharon and Tom's name is mentioned in this book. Amy. So the first boarding house that I stayed at when I came back from Dallas, Georgia, there was a woman named Amy, and I spoke with her, and she helped me with a room there on 3544 Carrollton Avenue. And actually, when I was there on 3544 Carrollton Avenue, tons of things happened while I was actually there at that address. And I'm going to share those police reports and that conversation with you guys then. But as of right now, I'm just speaking about this particular book. And as you can see, Sharon, Tom, and Amy are mentioned in this book. Kim is mentioned in this book. And once I talk about the health and the Bellflower documents, you will start seeing the consistencies between these names and the people that are mentioned in this book. Sharon is also mentioned again in this book, and it says that Sharon formed an internet group for parents of children with borderline personality disorder. Like I said, this book was created to not protect nor teach people how to work with people with borderline personality disorder. This book was created to further traumatize people with borderline personality disorder and to discredit the claims of the people with borderline personality disorder. And Popeyes on 16th Street was the first place that I actually realized that this was actually going on. But this had actually been going on before I worked at 16th Street and Sharon Street at that Popeyes. There was I actually worked on 86th and Michigan Road at a Popeyes, and I was hired by a guy named Scott and a man named Bruce. And you will also see Bruce's name mentioned in this book, as well as Dean and Scott. And as you could see, it says that Sharon forms a group, a borderline personality parent support group online, and she called the group Nuts, is what she called it, as you could see. And yeah, so here's another mentioning Sharon. And I'm gonna be honest, the safety plan versus treatment plan, what these people essentially did was use this book as a script. Then they tried to flip the script to try to discredit the claims that I was making. And we are all aware that I'm speaking the truth. I don't have to lie or make up nothing about these people. I have no reason to. Like I said, I went to work, and I went to work at the highest levels of management. I didn't go to work working on the team. I didn't go working a part-time job. I was working double shifts. I was the manager. I was working at different locations. So I have no reason to lie about these people and the things that they tried to do. Okay? And I do say try because they have not succeeded. Thank God. Thank God. Kim is mentioned again in this book. Again with Sharon and again with Amy. And like I said, these boarding houses have everything to do with this book that was written in 1998. I'm not going to read this book. I'm not going to go through every page and point out all of the points. I'm not gonna do that. But yeah, they were using this book as a script, multiple other books as well, not just this one, to further try to traumatize me and to discredit me as an activist and as an advocate. And they really were unexperienced and really had no idea what the hell they were even doing. See, I wouldn't have had an issue with it if they actually were qualified, but they're not qualified to be dealing with these type of matters. They're not qualified. And they have no idea what they're doing. They're not qualified and they have no idea what they're doing, and what they're doing is furthermore traumatizing the people with these particular disabilities, and that's the reason why I'm speaking up against it. If it was something that was helpful, if it was something that was progressive and actually showing signs of being helpful, then I would not be saying the things that I'm saying. But it's obvious that what they were doing, they were unsuccessful with it, unexperienced, and they had no idea what the hell they were doing. They had no idea what the hell they were doing. And one of the teachers that I had when I was in 5th grade was Mrs. Jones. And as you could see, they spoke about her in this book, Mrs. Jones. They speak about Mary in this book. Gail is mentioned in this book. So the Gail from the story from the Indianapolis Star, the events that occur in Atlanta, as you could see, they've been using this book this whole time as a script on how to discredit and to invalidate, most importantly, the people that suffer from borderline personality disorder. This is not a joke, and this is not a lie, and this is not a scam, okay? This is serious. And I didn't even connect the dots to the stuff until like a few months ago. I finally connected the dots to the Popeyes, the Arby's, the managers, the HR, these people. I finally connected the dots, and I finally was able to realize exactly why they were doing this. And like I said, if what they were doing was actually helpful, then I would not need to speak up against what they're doing. It's inappropriate. They are unexperienced, and they have no idea what the fuck they're doing. There's no nice way to say the shit. I wish that I could say thank you. I wish that I could say I appreciate you, but no, I don't, because what they did was create a bigger problem than what was already existed. And as you can say, let me show you again. just in case you think I got to make this up. Gail, as you could clearly see, Gail is a part of this book. And you can see the page number that it is. Page 200, Gail. Here they go talking about do your best to ensure your child doesn't fall through the cracks. And as you could see on part 5, the title of part 5 was basically them saying that I was going to find my destiny to fall or whatever the fuck. And like I said, if I was ever to fall, I will get back up. I will never fall and stay on the ground. That shit will never happen. But as you can see, I'm just showing you guys this so that you can see the consistency of the illegitimateness of these so-called professionals who are not professional and they are full of crap. Okay? It's not me who has to lie on these people. I don't have to make this shit up. I didn't write this book. I didn't write this book. You know? I didn't write this book. I didn't tell them to do the stuff that they're doing. They did this stuff on their own. They did this stuff on their own. You know, I didn't never have to lie. I didn't never have to make up nothing. I didn't never have to go to court and make up fake claims about people. I've never had to lie on nobody about nothing. And like I said, I'm not going to say too much because we are going to court about these matters. But I did want to show you guys the consistency of what the fuck is going on here? What are they doing? What is this? What are they doing? What are they doing? What are they doing? Because see, it's not me who's creating these scripts. It's not me who's creating these media narratives. It's not me who's creating these lies. It's not me who's staging this shit. It's not me who's hiring these people, claiming that they're trying to help, but really instigating issues that could have been solved easily instead of creating all this complication and chaos. Yeah. So, yeah. And as I speak, you know, they're driving and doing all this shit. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't give a fuck. I told them I didn't want to be a part of their fakeness. I didn't want to be a part of their fraud. I did not want to be a part of them trying to unauthenticise me and who I am and what I stand for. Period. So that's what this conversation is about. Yeah. So that's what this conversation is about. Oh, they also speak about Michael in here. Jerry is one of the names that are mentioned in here. Valerie, I don't know if you watched that video that I made when I went to the city county building to see exactly what they were doing to help victims and trauma survivors. And as we saw, they're doing absolutely nothing to help these people. Let's just be very clear. They're doing absolutely nothing to help these people. This is the type of stuff that they're doing. They're saying that services were provided, and these are the type of services that they were providing. Something that was furthermore going to traumatize me and take me further away from progress. And it's a joke and a scam. These folks should be in jail. They should have to pay money for the scams and the fraud that they have engaged in. As you can see, the name Valerie is mentioned in this book, as well as Hannah. And Valerie was also another woman that lived at the boarding house, Sharon's boarding house. So, yeah, I'm not playing with people. And I'm going to be honest, I don't care what they think. I'm tired of the lies and I'm tired of the fraud, period. Rick's name is mentioned in this book as well. He was one of the guys that lived at the boarding house on 34th and Capitol, Sharon's boarding house. And my name isn't House. I'm not a house. I'm not a car. Okay? I'm not an object. I'm a person. I'm a human being. Okay? I'm not an object. I'm a human being. Okay? Okay. They also speak about Elizabeth in here. Yeah, they want to talk about it. They want to call people liars and shit. Nah, we gonna talk about it then. Let's talk about it. And I don't really care what nobody thinks about it, because when I win this lawsuit, it's gonna be me winning this lawsuit, not us, not we. So I don't care what the fuck they think about this shit. Period. Excuse my language. I'm not trying to, cuss. There's another Linda mentioned in here. Alicia is mentioned in here. And when I was working at the Arby's on 86th and Michigan Road, Jerome, there was a young girl in there that her name was Alicia. Yeah. So they've been using this book for quite a while, including, like I said, the story that was mentioned in the media story that we worked on. You could see the names, and they scripted this shit. And I'm not the one who did it. So all that talking about I gotta lie and I gotta make up stuff for attention, I don't. I have no reason to lie on nobody about nothing. And I didn't ask to be involved in this shit neither. I specifically told them I did not want to be involved in this shit. I specifically told them I did not want to be involved in anything that was staged, coerced, or made the fuck up. I specifically told them that shit. And they should have respected what I said, and they should have listened to what I had to say. Allison is mentioned in this book. As you know, my father's name is Allison. My birth father's name is Allison. David is mentioned in this book. I didn't even know that David was mentioned in this book when I made that podcast. Jeffrey is mentioned in this book. Dean is mentioned in this book. They speak about this being a road, that Dean wrote a roadmap for men falsely accused of child abuse. And he recommends the following actions for men in this situation. It says, find the money to defend yourself, protect yourself financially. It will take